Well, howdy, howdy, howdy. Nearly Senior Citizen here. Greetings, boys and girls, and welcome to this another brand new day. And in my pocket, I have a little goose crawling around. Now, under normal circumstances, by this time, I would have this little feller moved over to... I'm sorry, I thought I had him face first. I would have had this little fellow moved over against the wall and replaced with somebody else to highlight. But because he's new and he needs extra handling, I still have him. He's been very cute, but very, very scared. I've had him in my pocket and he hasn't been relaxing. He's been crouching in my pocket and then staring up through the cracks at me because he's scared. Thigmotaxis. He hides. And so I just want him to have a little extra handling so that he can get used to, number one, being handled, and, you know, my smell, and just the entire situation so he doesn't freak out so badly. But now, I'm going to put him back in his cage so that he doesn't get too scared. Because when hamsters get too scared, they drool. So if you're holding on to your hamster and you notice that it's drooling, you need to put the hamster away. You really, really do, because that means he or she, or, you know, on the spectrum, but still, point being, is it's really, really scared, because when they're scared they drool, and when they're drooling they're next to terrified. Which reminds me, way back when, one of the few things I can remember, even a couple years back, I can barely remember my first year after my wife died, and half of that I was doing my channel. My second year, when I was living over in my brother-in-law's garage, I can barely remember that. I can only really remember things about a year and some ago, after I lived here, when my brain started waking back up. But periodically I do have flashes and remembering of things. I talked about this before, but I don't know how it happened. None of us do. But we had been toking out on Cannabis, and somehow, I think it must have happened. Oh, my face is so red. I look so terrible. But somehow, when he had been crawling around, he must have grabbed hold of a half-burned nugget of cannabis. Now, the thing about cannabis is it's heat activated. THC is heat activated. If you just feed cannabis, dried cannabis, you know, a cannabis nug to your hamster, they'll eat it, and it's like eating lettuce. There's absolutely nothing to it. But you heat it up, you activate the THC. Now, some of these things smell really, really good all on their own. And hamsters have got really good sniffers and tasters, and he must have come across the half-burned nug, liked the way it smelled, tucked it into his cheek, and then was just still wandering around, and we didn't realize it. And then he must have chewed it and eaten it. Because after a while, we heard this squeaking sound coming out of his cage. And when I found him, when we tracked him down, he was leaning up against a cardboard tube, just drooling, staring, and squeaking. So, oh my gosh, that poor little guy with a nugget of that size, heat activated. That poor little guy was stoned out of his gourd, and he was terrified. He was okay. It took, you know, an hour, 2 hours, and the stuff worked out of his system, and he was fine. But it was just, oh, the poor little guy, he just didn't know what was happening. On the whole, I don't mind giving cannabis to my hamsters when it's appropriate. Because hamsters and other small animals are very prone to cysts and tumors. And so if my little guys get a cyst or a tumor, I buy some cannabis. Well, what's the word? I've forgotten the word. It's not tincture. There we are. Because it's a base of the crushed plant, activated plant, in a solution, and so it's got activated THC in the drop form. And I have saved some hamsters' lives when they have had big tumors or big cysts growing, and I discovered it, gave them tincture, and the tumors and cysts shrank and vanished. The only time I've ever had that happen, where they have had a tumor or a cyst go away, is in cannabis applications. Past that, if it shows up, eventually they're going to die because it's going to get too big. If it's on the inside of their abdominal wall, they're going to die real soon because it's going to keep on growing until there's no more room on their insides for their insides. So they're going to die not very pleasantly when that happens. When it's on the outside of the abdominal wall, it just keeps growing bigger and bigger on their skin as it expands outward. And so that they can live for a time, but it just keeps getting bigger and bigger, and it's harder for them to drag around. But with tincture, I have had tumors and cysts on my little hamsters go away. And so at appropriate times, I do not mind THCing up my little beasts. But that poor little fella, that was not an appropriate time. He grabbed something and then ate it, and oh boy, was that way too much for that poor little guy. I just felt so bad for him. Like I said, he came out to be okay, and that's a good thing, but oof, poor little fella. Which, also, I have to laugh. I'm reading a story from an old-time celebrated horror writer. I've got something in my eye. Yeah, I need to also... It really hurts right at the moment. Ow. I mean, it's likely just irritation on my edge of my eyelid, but still, sorry about this. Once again, I do this all extemporaneous and one hot take, so any problems and issues that come up, you get to see them. But inside the story, there's this psychic doctor who can heal you spiritually and such. And I'm reading this story, and he's been called in to talk to this one author who can't write anymore. And so he ends up listening to his story and holding his hand as he just listens to him talk. And then he says, gosh, this drug you took, it must have been harsh. And he went, how could you tell? And so I could tell by your psyche. And so it's like, what was it? And he said, well, it was cannabis indica. Oh no! Not cannabis indica. Not cannabis indica. Yep, he took some indica cannabis, and it just changed his psyche so much it brought him into effect with ghosts in the house. And oh, he was warned by the psychic doctor of the dangers of overdose. Thumbs up. They didn't understand a lot of things. I mean, there is no real way to check a lot of the science. And the science we have now is based on what they did back then and just all those old things. It's funny to come across, you know, here's this cannabis indica. Ooh. And this bothers me. I'm very sorry that my skin is prey to the illnesses that fall to the human skin. I didn't even realize that was a zit until this morning. I scratched it, and because it itched, and oh boy, it really hurts. So I got this big old zit right there on the tiny thin skin right here, because this is pretty thin skin underneath my eyes. And then a great big old red mark from my mask. It is just chewing up my nose again right here. And then the marks from the strap that goes across my forehead. I turn my head, you can see the strap marks from it going around my neck. Ugh. It is rough with this mask. I have to fill up the water reservoir and then be careful, and I have to, you know, make sure that doesn't like grow algae and stuff in it, because it heats that up. So as my machine sucks in the room air, it swoops the air over the top of the water reservoir so that it's not just dry air. you get a little bit of humidity, and then that gets shoved down your throat into your lungs. Ugh. And I've talked about it before, but I'll talk about it again because it's minor and people forget, and there's new people, hopefully. But with sleep apnea, there's two types of sleep apnea. There's obstructive, there may even be more. The two types that I know of are obstructive and central. Obstructive you can get if you're thin or fat or whatever. It's just the soft tissues of your lungs, of your throat and your sinuses back there just collapse as you sleep. And so your throat literally just gets closed off. And so you're trying to trying to breathe like that. And it is a terrible, terrible strain on your heart and your brain because they're starving. But then there's also the other one. I mean, I understand how people get obstructive apnea. I don't know what happens with what I have, central apnea. I don't know what causes that. Because central apnea is just your brain literally forgets to tell your lungs to breathe. And I kind of remember periodically as a child, there would be times I would have to concentrate and consciously on breathing, because if I didn't, I would stop. So, is this tied in with that? Is it completely different? I have no ideas. Because, yeah, I would have to concentrate on breathing or I wouldn't. Yay. So, I have no ideas what went on with that. But, I will just be, it's like I'm just going like this, where why? No ideas. Pleasant? Not in the slightest. I don't want to have a heart attack or a stroke. And I had untreated sleep apnea for a good 10 or 15 years. And when I lost 165 pounds in like 2 months, that does damage to all of your muscles, including your cardiac system. And I've been on 100 milligrams, well, 100 milligrams equivalent of morphine, 45 milligrams of methadone daily for about a decade. Excuse me. So the potential for cardiac damage is pretty big. Yay. All you can do is all you can do, though. That's why I exercise. I made an extra loop, so I make a 7-mile round trip. Last night when I went walking, it was almost 4 hours, so maybe a 7-mile round trip is a little long. And, good golly, Miss Molly. My sincere apology. Today is the I think I'm getting sick day. That's probably what it is. Holy smokes. My housemate has had strep throat, and the way my voice is feeling and the way my throat is feeling, I'm probably getting a sore throat. Oh goody. I don't have anything past Medicare. So if I go to a doctor, I have no insurance past Medicare, which means I don't have $100 and some odd to pay to be able to go see a doctor. So hopefully I'll be able to schedule something if I start getting sick to go see the VA doctor and then get help that way. If I do get sick, I don't know. It might not be. Point being, though, I was trying to say, is I have actually been sleeping longer, and that's good. It used to be, even living here, if I got 3 or 4 hours of sleep in a night, I'd be doing good. So if I went to bed at 10, I'd be up at 3. So I went to bed at 1, and I was up around 5. Now I can go to bed at around 11, and I'm up around 5. Last night, it was a late night, but I set my alarm for 7 a.m. just so I could sleep. And I did. My alarm woke me at 7 a.m. So yeah, I'm late, but I slept about 6 hours. Definitely a thumbs up right there. On the other hand, though, I have been nothing but coughing and hacking, and my throat is just frightening me right now, so oh boy. I didn't even take a carbonated beverage this morning. I have no idea as why I had a burp that something came up. My sincere apologies. However, though, I've opened up 24 hours. I've opened up 12 hours worth of comments, and it's still about 25 pages of Mr. Beast. So I'm going to go through and thank 20 to 25 people for having left a comment. It is appreciated. Good comment, bad comment, indifferent comment, Mr. Beast comment. The fact is you left a comment. Thank you very, very much. If I mispronounce the username, my sincere apologies. No disrespect is intended. And if I get lost, I'm counting an American Sign Language. So, I still got something in my eye. Driving me nuts this morning. I must have like a sty on the edge of my eyelid. Fun, fun. Anyway, though, let me call up my Chrome here. And we have Z Count Vertigo. Thank you very, very much. And Enemy Hunter, greatly appreciated. Active Flow, thumbs up and thank you. Dylan Brown, greatly appreciated. Zamasu the Kaishin of Universe 10, thumbs up. Karam, looked like Karam 100, Karam 100, I'm not sure how it's supposed to be. The Real Kanye, thank you very, very much. Sawyer Hele, thank you very much. I hope it's close like that. Ski is the GOAT, thank you very, very much. Midtown Thwip, thumbs up and thank you. Brady, greatly appreciated. Ya Boy, Half Sack, thumbs up and thank you. Lambo, greatly appreciated. Dankai Crowley, thumbs up. SZX, RZ Spectre, greatly appreciated. Red Prince, thumbs up and thank you. Foolish by Design, greatly appreciated. Little Headshot, thumbs up. Oyster ZZZ, greatly appreciated. Gabriel Garcia, thumbs up. Straight Anonymous, greatly appreciated. Logan L, thumbs up. Damp Puss, thumbs up and thank you. Hyper, greatly appreciated. And last but not least, BNHA Nerd. Thank you all. Greatly appreciated to get me out of my head, if even for a tiny bit. Dealing with real people, if only in text. And that is a very good thing. When you're depressed and stuck inside of your head, you begin to hear your thoughts echoing off the walls, off the inside of your skull. It's a good thing to get outside of that skull, so you can have your thoughts just go straight out and not bounce back at you. And you got other people's thoughts too. Not that you're hearing other people's thoughts. What I mean is you're interacting with people. You're saying things, they're saying things. It's a good thing. Oh, good golly, Miss Molly. The bad part about getting up at 7 a.m. is it's 8:01 right now. I've only been up an hour. And as much as my mouth will run before my brain starts to work, it would be nice if I could at least say things that are intelligent and halfway smart while my brain is waking up. So hopefully today's vlog wasn't too boring and awful. I mean, they're never going to be exciting. They're just wild ramblings of just stuff that's in my head because I'm a talker and I got to get this stuff out. I've always been a talker. That's the way I've been. I don't know where I am on the spectrum of male to female, because there's male, female, but because of the flow of such, there's actually how many people on the planet? That's how many sexes there are. That's how many gender identities there are. There is not one pole, one pole. It is a flowing of people on the spectrum. So you'll find yourself somewhere. But somewhere on the spectrum is I need to talk, and I don't do a lot of traditional guy things. So who knows? Anyway, though, if you can check out my various links, I have Twitter, Facebook, GoFundMe, Patreon.com. If you could donate to my GoFundMe campaign or become a Patreon.com patron, like one of these beautiful and updated people. Beautiful and awesome people. Hopefully it's an updated list. That's what I was trying to say. If not today, hopefully very soon. I've gotten a lot of new patrons. Thank you all so very, very much. It is appreciated. Now, if you cannot donate or you simply do not donate, I take all good wishes and deposit them in the bank of my heart where I draw interest. So thank you very much. I'm going to be doing an update video on the monetary situation here either today or tomorrow. So very, very cool. No fear. And if you could toss me a like, I appreciate all the positive validation I get from my existence. And if you could subscribe to the channel, that too would be cool. I'm going to hopefully have a reaction video, hopefully a game video, hopefully a game video from a game channel. I need to live stream again, but I keep falling asleep and then I go walkie. So you take care. Have a great day today. I will see you on the flip side. And that, my friend, is a very good thing. God, that just hurts like the devil. Ah, it's driving me crazy too.